working in Syria. The committee chairman cited what he calls its long-standing efforts to eliminate chemical weapons. And those are the headlines. I'm Fanula Sweeney. Stay tuned now for On the Road, Indonesia.
Hello and welcome to On the Road, Indonesia. Over the next half hour, we're going to take you on a tour of this incredibly diverse country, showcasing the arts, culture and travel on offer here in Indonesia. Well, it's the most populous Muslim nation, home to more than 240 million people, comprising of 17,000 islands and 3 different time zones. It's where the traditional and modern come together, and it's making its mark on the rest of the world. I'm Anna Corrin. Let's start our journey. You can't begin to understand a country as sprawling as Indonesia without doing a lot of travel. So CNN has hit the road, starting here in Borobudur, then going to nearby Yogyakarta. We then flew to the capital, Jakarta, then off to Bandung, Bali, and finally Flores and Rinca Islands. We are here in Borobudur, one of the greatest Buddhist monuments in the world. It was built more than 1,000 years ago, but it wasn't listed a World Heritage Site until 1992. More than 3 million visitors come to this temple each year, and preserving it hasn't been easy. In the middle of central Java, under the scorching sun, is a monument of worship that has stood here for more than a millennium. This is Borobudur, the greatest Buddhist temple in the world and the pride of all Indonesians. Built on a hill back in the 8th and 9th century, Borobudur is made up of Java stone from the nearby volcano Mount Merapi. Divided into 3 tiers, the temple represents the stages of enlightenment. Lining the walls, 1,460 stone-carved panels that tell the story of Buddha. But it's the bell-shaped stupas Borobudur is best known for, the largest one crowning the monument, almost 10 metres in diameter.
It's an awesome temple.
Yeah, the architecture, the structure, it's amazing. Very, very impressive.
It's the people who built it. I would imagine what they were doing is trying to put a transcendent idea into matter and form that would last. And they've done it, haven't they?
But that wasn't always a certainty. When power shifted to other parts of the region, Borobudur was abandoned. For 800 years, the temple was covered by jungle and volcanic ash, until an Englishman rediscovered it in 1814. Restoration slowly began until UNESCO got involved, returning Borobudur to its former glory. Back in 1973, under the guidance of UNESCO and the Indonesian government, this entire temple was pulled apart. Over the next 10 years, they rebuilt the foundations, making it stronger against earthquakes, and upgraded the centuries-old drainage system, before finally putting all 2 million blocks of Java stone back into their original place. In 1992, it became a World Heritage Site and is now one of Indonesia's most popular tourist destinations.
All people, many religions come to Borobudur. Borobudur, asset of the world.
And to the local community, whose economy relies heavily on Borobudur. So when Mount Merapi erupted in 2010, covering the temple in 3 centimetres of acidic volcanic ash, 3,000 volunteers spent the next year meticulously cleaning every inch of Borobudur. One of those people was tour guide Mura Aristina. The 31-year-old has been working here for 14 years, and although he's Muslim, like most of his fellow Indonesians, he believes this is one of the most sacred places on earth.
I think the Borobudur, it was built not only for prayer or meditation, but maybe the main one is just to learn how to be a Buddha. Buddha means awareness, understanding the soul. So I think this is a big library, how somebody can come and learn all about universe, all about our life.
As stonemasons ply their craft each day to conserve this piece of history, the hope is Borobudur will still be standing 1,000 years from now. The Borobudur temple is about an hour and a half's drive from the centre of Yogyakarta, a city that takes great pride in its arts and culture. I was lucky enough to meet one of its renowned architects and learn about his commitment to design and community, especially in the face of natural disaster. Under coconut palms and banana trees in a small village outside Yogyakarta, the rhythms of life revolve around family, tending to rice paddies and their livestock. But just before dawn on the 27th of May 2006, this peaceful existence was shattered when a 6.3 magnitude quake lasting almost a minute flattened buildings within a 20-kilometre radius. Densely populated areas became piles of rubble, claiming the lives of more than 3,500 people. What did this place look like after the earthquake?
Well, most of the house, I think, collapsed because you see, this is still some bricks left, I think.
And they use bricks mainly for their construction?
Yes, brick, but with poor quality cement.
Renowned Indonesian architect Eko Prawoto knew people in this village and needed to help. He contacted a local newspaper and asked for donations for building materials. And then, over the next few months, he and his team volunteered their time to construct more than 100 new homes. They use coconut wood bound together with bolts, based on traditional design.
The whole wooden pieces become kind of one, so it's very stable. It still has a flexibility as a wooden structure, so it means that it will stand during the tremor.
Situated in what's known as the Ring of Fire, Indonesia is prone to earthquakes. And while 51-year-old Bu Sur Turim has witnessed many, she vividly remembers the day the earth violently shook back in 2006. All I could think of was my grandchildren, she told me. I raced back and found my house in ruins. One of the children was trapped. Thankfully, he survived. While there are at least 5 tremors a year, Bu says she now feels much safer. I'm very fortunate to have my new home. It's solid without much brick. I believe when the next big one hits, it will still be standing. Eko's designs are certainly built to last. An architect for more than 30 years, his homes have graced the pages of books and glossy magazines. But his philosophy isn't about standing out, rather blending into the environment, using tradition to enhance the natural surroundings.
Architecture is not an isolated entity. It's not begin and end in itself, but it should be part of the larger context of the environment. Not only environment, but also a social context or cultural context.
He's also a strong believer in community, using local materials, local skills, which in turn help the local economy.
We have to rediscover the spirit of the community and how is it possible to keep that spirit or to strengthen it in our contemporary situation.
When On the Road Indonesia returns, a bird's eye view of this spectacular country from one of the nation's high flyers.
The Taliban tried to kill her for going to school. They only made her stronger. Her name is Malala, and she talks to CNN's Christiane Amanpour.
You still have huge dreams. They didn't take that away from you.
Hear her story, her vision for the future, and why she'll never stop.
They only can shoot a body, but they cannot shoot my dreams.
The Bravest Girl in the World with Christiane Amanpour. Monday only on CNN. original series Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown, Copenhagen.
Denmark is like the happiest place on earth.
Go on a culinary adventure through one of the best restaurants in the world. Pushing you to rethink what's edible.
It's like I've never tasted a green vegetable that good.
Where it comes from.
Let's grab a bunch of these for lunch, no?
And how it reflects the Danish landscape and culture.
Cheers.
Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown, Copenhagen, Sunday on CNN.
Welcome back to On the Road, Indonesia. I'm Anna Corrin in the country's capital, Jakarta. Now, Indonesian food is a well-kept secret. It doesn't share the fame of its neighbours like Thailand, Singapore or Vietnam. Perhaps its best-known dish is the nasi goreng, fried rice with chicken, prawn and egg. Well, renowned Indonesian chef William Wonzo wants to change this and export the country's best dishes to the world. Well, he took us to his favourite food spots in Yogyakarta. At the back of a humble house on the outskirts of Yogyakarta is a kitchen of an elderly woman who's dedicated her life to cooking. It wasn't out of choice, but rather necessity, as Mbak Mato was forced to support her struggling family as a teenager. She would travel to neighbouring villages to sell her signature dish, mangut lele, otherwise known as spicy catfish. But now customers come to her, the 90-year-old converting her home into a makeshift restaurant.
So this is her home?
Her home. This is her kitchen. It's amazing, right?
It is amazing.
And William Wongso would certainly know.
Oh, this is a papaya leaf.
As one of Indonesia's most famous chefs, he's become an expert in culinary tradition.
What is the secret to her cooking? Why is it so popular? Why do people come? You know, it's a long way out of Yogyakarta.
It's a very home cooking, very traditional. Everything they still, you see, they don't use electronic things to pound the spices, pound by hand. You can see there, and they cook with the wood fire. It is a kind of a cooking with passion.
Which is something he believes is missing from Indonesian cooking and a problem he's determined to rectify. Working closely with the government, Wongso has started a program training up young chefs like 22-year-old Putri Rizky Mumpuni.
I hope someday I can learn about recipe from her. Because I know, for me, I'm the beginning of chef, but I have to learning more about Indonesian food, like a traditional food, so you can find here.
Food is a big part of Indonesian culture, and yet their dishes are not well known beyond its borders.
You know, if you come to Jogja, this is a dish that you must taste before you leave Jogja, called guda.
Guda, a dish of chicken, duck egg, rice and the famous jackfruit cooked for 24 hours in spices and coconut sugar. Wongso takes us on a tour of the kitchen where the wood fires burn 24 hours a day before allowing us to taste one of his favourite dishes.
Yeah, that's good.
Showcasing Indonesian cuisine to the rest of the world has become a passion project for this 66-year-old chef. And what better way to do it than design the menu for the state dinner at this year's APEC summit in Bali, upon the request of the Indonesian president.
This is a dream that's almost come true, that the state dinner highlight on Indonesian food.
Mbak Mato won't be cooking for any presidents or prime ministers, but her customers all know one thing for certain.
She is a master chef in Indonesia.
Indonesia is such a vast country, as wide as the United States, from New York to San Francisco. So it's virtually impossible to see it all in one trip. But aerial photographer Jez O'Hare has spent nearly 20 years documenting the natural wonders of this country, from its pristine beaches to its fiery volcanoes. And he shares with us what it's like to see Indonesia from above.
It seems to me that if you don't fly, you can't see the country, because From the ground, if you're stuck on a road or you have to walk in somewhere, most of the land is covered by forest or water. So it seems the only way to see it properly is from the air. So it just seemed natural that I had to learn to fly. Flying the trike feels literally like a Harley with wings. It's like you're sitting on a motorbike and you've got an amazing view that you'd never get on the road. If the weather's good and the view's good, you're always going to have a great time and get good pictures as well. I grew up here and I became an Indonesian citizen. So this is my country, and I'm so happy that I could live in such a beautiful country, in such a varied country. Exploring really is what I started to love. The first time I went traveling by myself in Indonesia was in '87, and I went to Papua. After going around there, I realized that Indonesia was just amazing, and I had to do more. Papua is absolutely stunning. It's like the Alaska of Indonesia, say. It's just still mostly forest covered. The mainland and the mountains is incredible, but then also the islands of Raja Ampat or the other islands around Papua is just really, really stunning. Thousands of islands all in chains. All different karst-shaped islands that are just amazing.